Hi, welcome to Stories with me, Shonna. Today we're on chapter 26 of the Barren Grounds. We're nearing the end of this story, and I appreciate you staying with me through this book. It has been so exciting, full of adventure and challenge and heroism and fantastical animals. What a journey we've been on together. When we last left off, Arik and Morgan and Eli had just come back to Missawa, and they were welcomed by the big bear. And Arik decided that she was going to stay in Missawa. And they felt that when they were journeying back to Missawa, that Ochik had been with them in the sky, guiding them back home. And now we've just discovered as well that Eli and Morgan are going to head back to their foster parents. But they're not going to go back to their foster parents the same kids that they were when they entered through the portal, are they? A lot has changed for them, including maybe feeling like a sense of family with each other. They often talk about each other as being like brother and sister now. I wonder what that's going to be like for them. What will it be like for them to go back? Let's find out. I have a cup of coffee. Look at the size of this mug. Wow, it's huge, isn't it? My coffee's not all the way to the top, but I've got a cup of coffee here. Why don't you go ahead and get yourself a snack or something to drink or something that will make you feel really comfortable while I read chapter 26 with you. Maybe you want to listen with someone that you love, or a pet, or a stuffed animal, or I don't know, whatever makes you feel good and calm so that you can really concentrate. I'll wait. Are you ready to get started? I know I am. I want to know how this is going to end. Chapter 26, The Barren Grounds. Morgan and Eli left Missawa behind, their path ahead illuminated by a line of villagers carrying torches and standing at the beginning of the Barren Grounds where they would send them off. They had their own torches for when the villagers' lights dimmed, and Arik was with them. The squirrel had insisted on accompanying the kids, not because she was worried for their safety or because she thought that Morgan was actually afraid of the dark, but rather because she found them such good company. The Barren Grounds weren't as intimidating now that the white time had ended. It was a flat and uninhabited land. Uninhabited means no one lives there. That stretched wide from east to west and appeared to lead right into the horizon. Upon careful inspection, Morgan could see the mountains to the far west, and it made her replay the last days of their journey in her mind. She tried to find the sequoia, a landmark for those memories, but wasn't able to. Ahead, she could see the northern woods, like a thin strip of green Velcro holding the sky and land together. "What's to the east?" Morgan asked. She could see nothing in that direction. It was as though the Barren Grounds kept going right through until hitting the sky. "Askai," or Aski. I'm not sure it's a Cree word. Arik answered simply. "Yeah, but what if we were walking through a field where you live and I asked you what lands were to the east?" Arik asked. "Ontario, I guess," Morgan said. Ontario is a province in Canada. "And is that all?" Arik asked. "No, the whole world's after that until you come right back to Winnipeg." "Well," Arik said, "the whole of Aski is to the east. There are many more lands and many more beings before you end up right back where you started, here in Missawa." Morgan tried to imagine just what the rest of Aski was like. What other villages were there, and what other creatures? Had any other humans gone anywhere else in this world? Were they still here? And how? What are you thinking about, Iskoisis? Arik asked. Nothing, Morgan said. Just that now that we have time to breathe, all of this is sinking in. This place, it's real. And now we have to leave, you know? You said a week here might be an hour or so back on your world, right? Arik asked. Yeah, she said. So you could even come back tomorrow night, your tomorrow night, and stay here for a month and explore. Arik could hardly contain herself. We're going to, right, Morgan? Eli asked. Do you think that they're going to go back on more adventures? Maybe, especially if time works differently in Mississauga than it does in our world. They could be gone for, a long time in Mississauga and barely be missed in our world. Morgan didn't feel the excitement that the other two had, and she didn't know why. They could come back by tomorrow night, maybe in 15 hours. It would just be, well, she didn't know the math, but months. Arik would still be here, Mississauga. Ironically, maybe by then it would be winter again, but when it was supposed to be winter. She didn't know why she felt upset until she said, I just don't want to forget what happened. Do you remember those pictures across the walls of the council hut? Arik asked. And Morgan did. Yeah, they were like wall paintings, the way people used to communicate before we had words. She could picture them, simple dark ochre paintings that formed something completely beautiful. Why do you think those pictures are here? Well, they're stories, aren't they? And Arik nodded. They tell the story of this place, of Mississauga, so that our history is never forgotten. A story brought us here, you know, a picture, Eli said. Stories always lead people somewhere, Arik said, to a place, a memory. Morgan knew then what Arik meant. I should write about what happened so that I won't forget it. Mrs. Edwards popped into her mind. Do you remember the English teacher from way back at the beginning of the story? She did have a poem due. And so that you won't forget yourself. Arik winked at Morgan, put her arm around Morgan's shoulders, and they kept walking. But, come back too, of course, for new memories, that is. So, why do you think Morgan was upset when they were talking about having more adventures? It sounded like she didn't want to forget what they'd just experienced. She was still in that space. And then she realized if she could write them down, then those stories she'd be able to go back to them again. She wouldn't forget. And other people would hear too. Do you ever write stories about things that have happened to you? It's a great way to understand and remember things you want to not forget. Some people keep a journal. Maybe you want to keep a journal. Sometime in the middle of the night, they came to the great tree. Morgan found that the protection she'd placed over the portal was untouched. The boards still hammered securely into the trunk. The hammer was on the ground in front of the tree, once buried under snow, but now in plain sight. Beyond the tree lay the northern woods, which, according to Ochik, no one had been in for many, many years. She imagined a group of animal beings sleeping right where she stood now, and a giant coming out from the forest and taking the soul of the elder. It made her shudder. Have you ever seen Mistapu? She asked Arik. Hearing the name, Arik shuffled back a few inches as though that might protect her if the giant showed up. I think if I had seen it, I wouldn't be here with you today. And she nodded. I'd prefer not to see it ever if I have a choice in the matter. You know, Mr. Pugh is in our world too, Eli said. Well, tell it I said hi, Arik said. Arik always makes me laugh. Seriously? Morgan asked Eli. Like, don't you mean a grainy video from a million miles away, right? You mean an actual, real live Mr. Pugh? I think she's talking about Bigfoot or Sasquatch. What do you think? People in my community have seen it, Eli said. I thought those were just legends like my books, Morgan said. Like there's really no such thing as, oh, wait, are they talking lions here? And Arik nodded. Maybe she's talking about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that story. Did you ever read the Narnia Chronicles? They're fantastic. Okay, strike that, she said. I guess what I mean is I haven't seen Bigfoot in Katie and James's house the last 2 months, and there aren't sightings in the city. So how do they get all the way through the city into the woods, never mind the attic? Arik leaned back and looked at the sky thoughtfully. You think that this portal is the only one? Interesting. What's Arik suggesting here? Maybe there's lots of portals. Anything's possible. Arik peered into the darkness of the thick, ancient forest. Nobody has been in the northern woods for generations, so who's really to say? Ever since the elder soul was taken? Eli asked. Hey, Arik said, and they never even made it into the woods either. There are no stories. Oh, here we go. Is Pisakawak that have. I'm not sure what that word means in Cree. You could look it up. It's spelled Piskowak. I wonder if there's a glossary in the back. A glossary gives the definition. Nope, you can just Google that. There are no stories of Pisiskawak that have. Well, now that would be an adventure, wouldn't it? Morgan asked. Be my guest, Arik said. I'm perfectly happy here. On second thought, Morgan said, I'm all adventured out. Maybe tomorrow night, Eli said. Maybe tomorrow night, Morgan echoed. She picked up the hammer and pried the boards away from the tree. One by one, the boards were placed on the ground, leaning against the trunk of the great tree, and, little by little, the attic was revealed. That's Earth? Arik asked. Yuck. That's a room on Earth, Morgan said. There's a little bit more to it than this. Yes, I was just thinking that I thought it would be bigger, Arik said. Morgan placed the hammer against the tree alongside the boards for next time. Won't those construction guys wonder where their hammer is? Eli asked. They might if they ever actually showed up. With the portal open, there was only one thing left to do, but nobody really seemed to want to do it. So for a long while, all three of them just stared at each other. And then, without warning, Arik pulled both Morgan and Eli into an embrace. I'll miss you both, she said. We'll miss you, too, Morgan said. I won't see you for months, but you'll see me tomorrow, Arik said. It'll feel like months, Eli said. I am very missable, Arik said, but I'm certain you'll survive. She helped Morgan and Eli through the portal back into the attic. The attic had dried out, and there was no reason to worry that the cold would creep into their foster parents' bedroom. It was probably warmer in the attic than it was outside Winnipeg, maybe not in the North Country. But why is it all dried out? Morgan asked out loud. It's been the green time for what, a day? Wouldn't that only be like 10 or 20 minutes on Earth? She rubbed her feet against the plywood floor just to make sure she wasn't imagining it, then bent down and touched it. It was dry as a bone. There must be space around the great tree, including your little room where our times intersect, Arik said. It's probably why I'm not moving 10,000 miles a minute right now in your eyes. That is so weird, Morgan said. It was true, though. Arik was on a ski. She and Eli were on Earth, but they were all in the same time. If that's the case, Arik said, we could just sit here and chat forever if you wanted. But they really couldn't. Even if the attic was on Mississauga time, by the light coming in through the crack between the door and the floor, Morgan could tell the sun was rising. Morning was coming, whether it was Mississauga or Earth time, and that meant Katie and James would be up soon. We will see you again, right? Morgan turned back towards Arik. Oh, I know you will, she said. How? Eli asked. Call it a hunch, she said. Now I'd best be off. Mississauga might fall apart if I'm away too long, you know. Arik blew them a kiss and then scurried off on all fours. Morgan and Eli watched her go until suddenly she darted out of view. Morgan pinched the corner of the drawing. Do you want to or? No, Eli said, you can. Morgan nodded and pulled the paper away from the wall, and in an instant, Usky was gone. The two of them inspected the drawing. It was new, just like the last time it had come off the wall. The Barren Grounds were dry and uninhabited, but across them, in the distance, you could see Arik on her way to Mississauga. You could see the forest, lush and green and alive. You could see the village, and finally, you could see a line of lights in front of the collection of longhouses. All the animal beings, with their torches raised, seeing the humans home. Wow. We have one more chapter after this where Eli and Morgan are talking to their foster parents and adjusting to life back in our world and maybe planning their next adventure. I don't think this is the last book of this series. Wow. I have a lot of questions and thoughts about what will happen to them next, but what an adventure they've come back from. Thank you so much for joining me today, and the next time we meet will be for our last chapter of this book. Until that time, have a good day. Bye-bye.